Welcome to the Hopefulist with me, Wendy McClure. This is where we turn those nasty, negative thoughts into positive and work toward a happy, fulfilled life. Now, let's get started. Hello and welcome to another bonus edition of the Hopefulist. Thank you so much for joining me. Today, we have Eric Peterson, founder and CEO of Seniors for Seniors, and John Peterson, who is president of the organization. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
We're happy to have you both here. Now, tell us what Seniors for Seniors is.
Do you want me to run with this, Eric? Okay, so Seniors for Seniors is an organization that Eric started when he saw that there was a real challenge that senior and older adults are facing. And those challenges are feelings of isolation, loneliness, and then oftentimes that leads to depression and even suicide in the worst case scenarios. And he saw that there is a need also for the youth who are facing similar situations. And so his idea was to connect these two generations together in a facilitated connection and enable them to serve each other. And the service occurs either in person or virtual visits or via telephone conversations.
So where are you guys located? Can you tell us where the organization is, where it's based out of?
Well, now we're in Colorado, but we start out trying to basically to Colorado and branch out. But through the process of doing so, we were also getting other people asking our program. So it kind of organically went out farther. So as John mentioned, we're doing it virtually or a phone call if needed. And so pretty much we're available anywhere.
So expansion is unlimited.
Yes.
Go ahead, Eric.
So I think one primary limitation now is we find out now is that we've seen so far is language. We haven't come across that yet, but we expect to down the road, and we got things we want to put in place to accomplish that when it comes there.
Okay. So tell me what the program entails.
What it does, I mentioned the idea that we're connecting older adults with high school age youth. And so the way that the system functions is once we identify an older adult or a high school age youth that's interested in providing this type of service to each other, we collect information from them through an interest survey, finding out what they like to do, what their interests are. This could be including just general interests. They might enjoy the outdoors or music or something like that, but also career interests. And the idea behind this is if we can connect an older adult with a high school age youth based upon their shared interests, then that's a good start, good foundation right from the beginning as far as them to become, we might say, friends. And connect with each other. And one of the things we really focus on when the ideal situations is when we're able to have an older adult who retired from a career that the youth is interested in. So that older adult can act as a real mentor to that youth regarding education requirements for a career and what the career is actually like. And ways to prepare and what to expect. And so that's one of the real, when we can get a connection like that, it's wonderful. That I still remember there's a young lady that was interested in a career with the FBI, and we had an older adult who's a retired FBI agent. And so we connected them together, and it was a good connection, and there was a lot of opportunities for them to learn from each other, actually.
I'd like to talk to that person to find out if it's just like the TV show FBI. That's what I want to know.
Well, he's a pretty interesting fellow. In fact, he's retired from the FBI, but people keep calling him. And he's doing private security work now and very successful with it.
Very.
A lot of his was focused on white collar crime, actually.
So very in demand. That's always a good thing, right?
Yes.
Okay, so how does the connection happen? What does that look like? Is it virtual? Is it in person? How do you get the two together?
Okay, so once we identify an older adult and a youth where there's a good match based upon those interests, then Eric initiates a three-way call for the initial introductions. And we share information with the older adult and the youth about the other person prior to this thing. Saying, does this sound like somebody you'd like to connect with? So we kind of get that initial go ahead from each of them. And then there's a three-way call. And part of the focus on this is to give the youth an opportunity to really develop some skills also. So once that initial connection is made, we put the responsibility on the youth to schedule and initiate additional phone calls or virtual meetings or in-person meetings. And idea behind that is, it's interesting. We have these what we call social networks that are out there, and there's many that are used by us and these youth, and somewhat by the older adults. Yet these youth often feel lonely still. They feel isolated. They see their friends doing all sorts of fun things, whether it's just perception or reality, but the feelings they have as a result of that are real challenging. So they also are not, because of those same mechanisms and those apps that are out there, the opportunities for face-to-face or person-to-person type social interaction is not the same as it was when I was their age, when there wasn't something like that.
No Zoom back then.
There's no Zoom, there was no Facebook, there was no Snapchat.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And yet that was an advantage to us, I'd suggest. So when we make these connections and Eric facilitates those, then they're in a position where they're having person-to-person interactions. They're learning about how to schedule and coordinate meetings. They're even maybe talking about establishing agendas. What are we going to talk about the next time we get together? Some skills that they can utilize going forward in their lives.
Eric, can you tell me a little bit about that first connection call? You're there to mediate. How does it typically go?
Yes, it varies. Sometimes what we try to, we always offer is a get to know you question, like an icebreaker. We have a get to know you 100 questions. And I typically send that with them prior to the call. And some don't want it, some do. Sometimes I send regardless. And usually what I do, I will say, Sarah's between you and John. I'll put on there, and we'll put all through in the phone call and say, hey, Wendy, this is John. John, this is Wendy. And Wendy, being the youth, said, you know what, I now encourage you to schedule a few times in advance with John before the communication, in case there's a hiccup later on, the human forgetfulness or life of change, then to make her go to the doctor, and it happen. So that way they stay on track, meeting with each other. And if not, they always come back to us. I have a few of them I've actually say, hey, you get a phone call, we're together, I've got this.
Okay, so like the icebreaker question then, is that kind of, what happens? Does that direct the entire meeting between the three of you? How long does that call usually last?
I put them on the phone call and introduce each other like I did for you and John. And I'll ask them, do you want me to see us any longer? And you guys can take it from here. What you guys want to do? And actually, surprisingly, most of the time, they say, we got this. And some, we make an appointment, you got to go, someone has to go to work. So either working, or if I feel them saying, they talk to half an hour, 15, 20 minutes, sometimes after an hour after I leave. And then the magic, we call it the magic happens from there, because they start learning from each other and experiencing that experience. And
okay.
The icebreaker questions that Eric was referring to is actually, sometimes you just don't know what to say on those initial calls. So we send out to both parties a list of literally a list we got off the internet of 100 questions to ask to get to know each other. And it just makes it easy. They can go down there, ask one of the questions, and let it roll from there.
Okay. Throw me a couple.
Well, what do you like to do in your free time?
I like to play pickleball.
You like to play pickleball. Okay, wonderful. What? And then they can take the conversation from there. And it could be something, well, where did you grow up? This basic questions
Okay.
that things that I believe in social situations, often times we kind of freeze up and we say, well, I don't know what to talk about. And this list of questions just kicks it off and makes it easy.
It does, yeah, because I feel like that's probably the most intimidating part is that initial call, and you're like, well, I don't know what I'm going to say, and what are they going to say, and all of that kind of stuff. So that's very good. I like that a lot. What benefits do you think happens for each of the two groups, the seniors and the high school age children?
I don't think that. I don't think the seniors. I take the youth.
Okay, John, let's hear about the seniors, the benefits for seniors.
Okay, sounds good. Well, we mentioned the idea, and if you consider even pre-COVID, and then with the additional challenges associated with COVID, seniors that are stay in their own homes or ones that are in senior communities, in both scenarios, they don't have the ability to interact in a broad manner the way they did before. A lot of the way they kind of put their own self-value was based upon what they did in their careers or what they contributed to the communities. And now they're limited to it. Sometimes they don't even drive anymore. So it's difficult for them to be able to do some of the things and find fulfillment in the career or the service in the community. So what this enables them to do is make a connection with another generation and be a mentor to them, finding fulfillment, then they're able to develop a relationship with one of these youth. And I would suggest most older adults want to share their life experiences. They want to share information they have. And this information, these life experiences are incredible, even though we may not think our life experiences have much to offer, but it does to a youth. And it could lead to discussions where once they get comfortable with each other, the youth is saying, well, here's something I've run into at school. The older adult can say, you know what, I experienced something similar. And what I found is, it could be over time it passes. Or, what I needed to do is just be the person reaching out to the other person, or whatever advice. But there's just things that you learn over time. And so the older adult, as they're sharing that, they're just feeling more valued.
Yeah, that's great. I yeah.
And they're finding more purpose in their life.
And back to what you said, people love to talk about themselves.
Well, they do. They do. And one of the things Eric learned, because he's a caregiver both in senior communities as well as in at-home based seniors, is that the things he's heard about, he's talked to people that were B-51 bomber pilots. He's talked to people that ran around with Michael Jordan when they were on the Olympic Committee. And, these people have amazing stories, and that's kind of dramatic, but there's a lot of just regular, more typical home experiences where they grew up during a difficult period. They didn't have much. And, that kind of gives perspective to a youth too, so they can appreciate what they have.
So, Eric, what do you think is the most beneficial part to the youth being in this program?
I think it's kind of twofold. I think it's having non-biased or judgmental person they could come to freely eventually and confide in, as well as that they learn the value of service. Like I said in the past before, luckily I've learned value of service early on from church organizations and scouting, but maybe in the future these youth see these other opportunities to serve other people. Maybe he's walking home from school and seeing an elderly person or this person struggling, maybe the garbage can up the driveway, or someone in the grocery store can't reach out to pick something up in the grocery store. they could know and feel these values of service they had in the past with our program or other programs. And in the past, they're going to want to engage in that to have the inertia of having the feeling of giving back somebody or helping somebody out. I think it's one of the biggest things people can do too as well. Giving yourself to others in their benefit is something I think we've experienced it. We want more of it. And maybe inconvenient, but after it's inconvenient, we should use it anyways. It's something we want to keep getting more of it. And I think when the youth start seeing that, it helps our communities overall.
Well, and that's an interesting point because a lot of times, teenagers especially just very selfish and self-centered and not worried about other people's and paying it forward and doing for other people. So do you find that you are having trouble, like what's the ratio from seniors to teenagers that are in the program? Like, is this something that you easily can talk the youth into, or is this something that you struggle to find?
It varies. At the beginning of the school year, when we first started, we actually had, if I'm wrong, but I think we had 30 or so kids sign up. But we've had this year, getting back to normal for things for schools and the senior homes. It's really hard to reach out to people in the schools with that, but I've talked to people, in public, and I've asked, you tell me, no, I got my hours, I'm good. Because kids require service hours. Well, I actually had quite a few surprisingly told me, I would prefer my service hours, but I want to do more. Like we have a girl named Reagan that we talked before about, that's in our program that's from the very beginning, had to wait for you to get her program, got her service hours, but she turned up, this year, and she doesn't really have her service hours already. But she's participating.
Continue, yeah.
And what Eric's referring to is a lot of the school districts require a certain number of community service hours to graduate. And it's becoming more commonplace in school districts. But everyone that's participating is a volunteer, either the older adult or the youth. So there's something in that those youth that participate where they want to give back to their community. They want to serve. And so I've been dropping things off at Goodwill before, and they're doing their service hours by unloading things out of the back of the car, and the people drive away. I would suggest that's not very fulfilling. In contrast to what they can do in this way, and they are. The stories that we hear is that they really feel good about it. It's really a fantastic experience that they have, and then if the youth are experiencing those feelings of isolation and loneliness, or maybe even depression, if all of a sudden they have somebody that's looking forward to a call to them, and they know that they're providing some friendship, fellowship for that older adult, they have additional meaning in their life. And it's just something that it can change their lives and help them appreciate another generation more, and because it feels good.
Well, yeah, and that's what I wonder about, is because there seems to be this, when I was growing up, at least, maybe it was just me in my area, I don't know, but there was always like a divide between, seniors and getting the youth together. Like mostly the youth didn't really want to, spend time with people that were considered elderly or seniors. So I'm just wondering how easy that is to facilitate. So you're saying that's part of it is they can take part in this community program.
Exactly. I think, like I don't know if I would go grocery store growing up, and I look at seniors, I feel like with them pretty easy on. I just enjoy people in general, but some too, I think, some people I feel towards people all the time. You may have that, I don't want to say the word bias maybe, but maybe that fear or maybe intimidation being someone in that age group. I think majority of people, when they try it, and then certainly in our program for aren't an older adult, they automatically enjoy it. Like I know my daughter started going to the senior homes. She was a little timid at first to go to senior homes with me when I was working there.
Right.
And I was more concerned about her going to the memory care units and how she's going to be, like I say, challenged in that way and see the atmosphere that goes in there. I assume being her favorite place to go besides seeing one other person. And she said that she's felt the embrace and she has to feel she was needed and wanted there.
Okay.
And feel that need. To this, I see how much tangible feeling you have when you see someone that's needing you and you give back and I need them too. So
Yeah.
That's what we call the magic.
Yeah. Well, and I guess I had a bad experience, when I was young. My mother signed me up to volunteer at a nursing home, a senior care center, when I was about 12 or 13. And I got to tell you, they were very mean to me. So I was very trepidatious about voluntarily spending more time. I know they're not all that way. But yeah, I mean, it was scarring to me. It was really, I remember begging my mother, I'm like, please don't make me go back there. They yell at me.
Well, and there's still those opportunities, but oftentimes those are more of the people that are in the memory care units, and rather than assisted living or independent living or living at home, and because their thought processes are not as clear as the assisted living and the independent living people, and so we are looking at doing some more with memory care, but it takes the special youth to be prepared for that too.
Right.
And
that wasn't me.
Yeah. Well, you weren't prepared at that point. 12 and 13, I would suggest, is a bit young, because you learn a lot between then and when you get into your high school years, 14 or 15, don't you?
Yeah, for sure.
Gain more perspective. And one of the things too that ties into this part of the discussion is that we have both the older adults and the youth commit to what we have called our safety expectations. So if ever there's a time, the idea is we're encouraging positive interactions. If there's ever a time that it crosses a line where one of them feels uncomfortable, we want them to reach out to us. If they're in a senior care facility or at home and they have family, we want them to let the older adult let them know that, hey, there's a problem with this. We want the youth to let us know, let their parents know, and if it came through the schools, their school counselor to know, and we end it immediately. Because there could be some things that just happen that are not positive. But I think part of it, this doesn't become a big challenge because, again, these are people that are volunteering and they want to do something positive for somebody else. So that helps.
Yeah, absolutely. John, in your opinion, do you think that the one or the other group gets more out of the experience? Do you think it's more positively impacted on the youth or the seniors?
I would suggest that there's always going to be variances with the connections that we establish, but I would say there's not more benefit for one or the other. And again, going back to the initial reason that Eric wanted to start this, feelings of isolation and loneliness and depression. And one of the leading causes I learned of seniors' death after age 70 is suicide. And that shocked me.
Yeah.
We hear about it a lot, too much with the youth. Knew somebody in a school district, one of the leaderships of the school district says they hear about almost every day a challenge with suicide attempt or issues tied to that in the school district, one a day. So those are big problems, but it typically starts with the isolation and loneliness, depression leading to that. When you put them together, those feelings change because they're needed by somebody. They're providing value and giving back to somebody else. They're helping that senior with something, and the senior is helping the youth with something. And even though there may be different reasons for those feelings that they're having, between the youth and the older adults, what's leading to those feelings, the feelings are similar, though, between both groups.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I just love all of this. I think that the program is ingenious. I think it's a great way to bring people together, to help with what you're talking about, the feelings of isolation and loneliness. And that, of course, that leads to depression. So, John, can you tell me where we can get more information and how we could maybe get involved in a program like this ourselves, no matter where we are? I mean, I'm based out of New Jersey. You guys are in Utah and Colorado. How can we get people together from all over?
It's really very simple. The website's www.seniorsforseniors.org, and the four is a numeral four. So again, seniorsforseniors.org. Go there, and there's a Giving Back tab. You click on that, and you say, I want to join, I want to participate. And I forgot exactly what the term is. You click on it, and then it brings up a form. You fill it out. And one of the things we tell senior communities, all we need is a name and a number of somebody that wants to participate. And then for the older adults, sometimes they don't have the equipment or the devices or the comfort level. So we'll call up and we'll help them fill out over the phone the interest survey. The youth, no problem. We'll just email it over to them. And then it just starts going.
Are there age restrictions when it comes to the youth?
No, there's not. But our focus is on the high school age youth because we feel that's where a lot of these challenges are occurring. But we know middle school also has some challenges. But then there's that maturity level as well. I would suggest that a high school junior or sophomore or whatever, if, because one of the things that can happen is their connection can pass away.
Right. Yes.
Okay. Now that would be harder, I would say, for somebody the age you're talking about, 12 or 13-year-old.
Yeah.
Whereas an older teenager would be able to keep that in perspective, even though there would still be a feeling of loss there, because those are some realities of the program.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought of that. What about older than high school? What if there's somebody who's 25 or 30 who's feeling lonely and might want to connect with a senior?
We can do it with them too. And so when I say the focus group, we've just focused our efforts on those high school age youth. That doesn't mean others can't participate. And what we hope, like there's a woman, that an older adult that named Neva, and she finished her youth, kind of got the service hours in, but she says, can I continue to maintain contact with them? And we say, absolutely. And Eric's vision that he shared is that the situation where there's one of these high school kids, now they're maybe a sophomore in college, and they're struggling with their classes. Maybe they're scared and worried about finals coming up, or maybe there's a relationship issue that they have, that they would say, maybe I'll give Neva a call and see if she has some ideas on how I can handle this. And the older adults typically can.
Yeah. So aside from the website, which is seniorsforseniors.org, do you have a social media presence? Is there other places that we can look you up?
There's other places, but we frankly aren't very active in them. Okay, So we have a web page, Facebook page, we have a Twitter page, and things like that. But that's not where most of the connections are actually occurring. Now on LinkedIn, Eric has a very strong presence where he's connected with over 18,000 people.
Yeah, Eric got to me, and one of you got to me, and we're like right over. We managed to schedule this interview in 2 days or 3 days.
And I believe probably started through LinkedIn. And one of the reasons that Eric focuses on that is there's professionals in the senior industry and in the youth industry, you might say, that are there. And lots of times those are the people that facilitate these connections we have with the older adults and the youth.
Okay, well, kudos to you, Eric. I'm glad that you reached out to me. I think that this program is amazing. But again, seniorsforseniors.org. Is there anything else that you want to say before we sign off?
Maybe just that we are a 501c3 organization. We've had that since December of 2019. And of course, we're like any others. If somebody feels that this is something that they feel is important and they'd like to go ahead and support it, go to the website too, and there's ways that you can make donations too, because we're trying to expand, and that takes. I hate to say it, but it takes money.
Well, everything takes money, John. It's all good.
Yeah, and so that's one of the limiting factors for us right now is that we are both working full time, and so this is what we fit into our like I'm doing this during my lunch hour for the people I deal with, I serve
Okay.
for work, and
Gotcha.
so those are that is an aspect. Eric would like to be able to do this full time, and then also have volunteers and maybe paid volunteers at some point too.
Well, it's a wonderful cause. I stand behind it, and I cheer for you guys. And I hope that anybody who needs help can get a connection through you guys and your organization. I want to thank you both. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, John, for coming on the show today. And I wish you the best of luck in the future.
Okay. Now, if you don't mind, Wendy, I would like to throw one thing out that we didn't talk about. There's no cost to any of these participants.
Okay, great.
At all. And so that it's for anyone as far as organizations or the older adults or youth, it's all no cost.
Well, that's always a benefit, right?
Yes, it is. It's important for them to understand too, so it's not a restriction for them.
All right. Well, thank you for letting us know that. And thank you for joining me today and always tuning into the Hopefulist. Now, go on out there and be badass today. I'm always here cheering you on.
Thank you, Wendy.